into 4 sessions that will be held throughout the challenge, and the webinars are worth 5 points each, so be sure someone from your company attends. The basic format of most webinars will be to share challenges and successes and learn from your peers. So we're in a friendly competition here, but at the end of the day, we all want to engage employees, and sharing knowledge will accelerate that. In addition, there will be an educational component on each of these coaching webinars, something to do with the challenge or employee engagement in general. All webinars will be recorded and will be made available for viewing and sharing with your colleagues. So today, we'll do a quick welcome. We'll spend a good chunk of our time on sharing best practices, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can encourage employee participation in the People Power Challenge. At the end, we'll have time for questions, and I encourage you to type your questions into the chat so that you can record them as the webinar goes on, and following that, at the end of the session, all of your questions will be answered. So on the last webinar, we all had a chance to get to know each other a little bit, and today we're going to talk again, but now we're going to talk about leveraging best practices. I did want to let everyone know that we do have one new competitor who joined the challenge, Trillium Health Partners. I'm just going to see if Jen is on the line so she can maybe say hello. It doesn't look like it. She's losing her first 5 points, but that's okay. We'll make sure that she gets access to this webinar afterwards. So up on the screen, you can see a reminder of the wonderful organizations that you're competing against, and that will be able to share best practices with you here today. So moving now into the sharing portion of the webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about one thing that has worked well in terms of getting employees to participate, and one thing that you would like feedback on how to improve. We have a real opportunity here to learn from others who are trying to accomplish the same things we are, and to get some advice on aspects of engagement that we're having some challenges with. So I'm going to call on the competitors in a completely random order, and I'll unmute you as I do that. And just a reminder to maybe mention your name and any other colleagues that might be on the line. One thing that's worked really well in getting your staff engaged in the challenge, and one thing that you've maybe had a bit of challenge with and would like a little bit of feedback on. So we're going to start with the International Center. Sonia, I'm going to unmute you now.
Hi, am I unmuted?
You are. You are.
Hi, I'm Sonia. I don't have any other colleagues on the line, but so far, one thing that really worked well for us is actually sort of at the beginning of the challenge. We actually had a scheduled town hall, so that was a really great time to sort of present the challenge to everybody that was there, because it's mandatory for all full-time staff. So there was about 70 people there, and I could present the challenge, just the basics about it, and then as well, I could tell everybody, when you get back to your office or once you get back to your smartphone, download the GreenGage app. So that worked really well in terms of, not just sending an email out, but actually speaking to them. So it seems more face-to-face, even though it was a presentation. And the one thing that I would like feedback on is probably getting to those people who we have a lot of casual employees or part-time employees, and they're sort of the group of people that probably have some really awesome ideas, but they're a little bit trickier to get engaged just because they're not here as often. They don't have access to email, and they don't have company cell phones. So for the app, for sending out e-blasts, they don't receive that information. So if anybody has any suggestions for sort of getting those type of employees more engaged.
Great, thank you. I'll mute you again, but I'm going to put that question to the group. I know that a few of you have that situation where you have people that don't necessarily have access to email. Does anyone have any suggestions for Sonia on how to overcome that, or maybe suggestions on how you've done it? You can use the raising your hand function. Okay, nobody right now. If you have ideas, just type them into the chat. And Sonia, I'll connect with you offline to talk about how we can find solutions for that particular challenge. Okay, so next up, we're going to hear from Canadian Tire. So Erin, just give me a moment and I will mute you. Unmute you, pardon. Okay, Erin, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Awesome. I'm here on behalf of Canadian Tire, as well as my colleague Ian King is here as well. So far, we've had a pretty good response rate with our employees downloading the app. We originally pushed it out as a face-to-face confrontation with all our employees in the cafeteria going around at lunchtime and having them sign up. And then we also pushed out an email to all the people that receive our sustainability newsletter, and I had incorporated an invitation through that as well. One thing that we're having an issue with, and it's not so much getting employees to get involved, but more or less the app itself. I've been getting feedback from people that are using it that when a new message comes up in the chat that no one's notified. So I don't know if that's something I need to talk with GreenGage about, or if anyone else is having that issue, that maybe it's a setting that can be adjusted.
Okay. So one thing that may have happened is that when new users sign on, if they've signed on recently, I need to reschedule them before they get the app content. I did that last Friday, but if they've signed on today or yesterday, they wouldn't get it. So I'll go in and I'll reschedule everybody's just to make sure that's happening.
Okay.
And I'll also reconnect with you offline to see if that that problem has been resolved.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I'm going to mute you, Erin, and we're going to go to the Mississauga Executive Center. So, Catherine, you haven't put in your PIN. I'm going to send you your PIN now. If you could enter that, and we'll get to you next. So we'll move to Air Canada. So, Penny, you're now unmuted.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
I'm sorry to say that our app content has not even begun yet. We've been quite stalled getting it uploaded. I was expecting messages already, but there's just some hiccups with that. So, so I'm sorry to say I don't. It feels like we haven't gotten traction yet.
Okay.
So I don't come with much to report today.
Well, how's everything?
Sorry.
How's everything going with the suggestions and the pledges and all of those other aspects of the challenge?
With the aspects of, the pledges have gone well. Sorry, not the pledge. We're doing a drive for World Environment Day for the pledges. So we're going to sort of do a whole drive around that next week. So that's planned. Nothing to report yet. The suggestions are, well, we've gotten quite a number of really good suggestions and that we're following up on, and ones in particular that seem pretty easy to implement. So yeah, I'm hoping to have some good feedback to employees on actions taken towards some of the suggestions.
Great. So how are you getting those suggestions? How are you making sure that employees are getting involved and getting engaged?
Because we're still working on some of the app stuff, we haven't, it feels like we haven't really gotten we haven't pushed hard yet. So the suggestions are only coming into the website at this point.
Oh, well, that's where they would be entered. That's the only place that suggestions would be entered. So it's great that you're getting the suggestions. That's fantastic, even without a big push. So I was just wondering what you have done in order to communicate to your staff about the suggestions and how you're getting them to do that.
We have an email. We send out bulletins to our staff that they're emailed. We've also put posters up in various staff lunchrooms and cafeterias. A little bit of word of mouth has also helped. So sort of those have been the main ways.
Great. That's fantastic, and I'll connect with you offline to talk about the app content, because I did check, and I do know that messages were being sent out, so let's just connect to make sure that that's all resolved.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay, so thank you for that, Penny. I'm going to mute you now, and we'll go back to Catherine in the Mississauga Executive Center. So, Catherine, you're unmuted.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so what has worked really well for us, it's been relatively easy for us because we're a pretty small, close group, and we're all in very close proximity to one another. So with me forcing it upon everyone to be aware of how the app works and how they can get involved, it's been pretty easy. We've set up a designated pledge wall, which has grabbed people's attention. And my general manager, Sante, he's all gung-ho about it, and he's actually just hosted a little bit of a staff lunch and learn and dragged me into the office to photo document it.
Oh, great.
So everyone's engaged and excited about it. I guess the only things that I struggle with a little bit is we have a couple of projects coming up, and I'm never quite sure as to where to put it on on the account, on the app. Well, not on the app, but online, where to assign it to. I struggle sometimes with where to assign it to. Sometimes I feel like I can put it in multiple locations. So.
Okay, why don't we take this opportunity then to work through that, because I'm sure others are having that challenge as well. So can you give me an example of one that you're finding hard to put into the scorecard?
Well, yeah, I guess the one that's just happened today. So we've got, Sante just hosted a bit of a lunch and learn. So I guess that can fall under encouraging group members.
Actually, there's an entirely separate point category for lunch and learns, so you can pop it into that category.
And then there was some other locations, I guess, it would also fit into as well.
So it would only apply to 1 point category, so you would get the points for the lunch and learn.
Okay. And then would it go under conservation anywhere?
It wouldn't. Because you're going to capture the points for the lunch and learn, it would go under the lunch and learn.
Okay. So I can't, in essence, cheat
double
a little
dip.
bit and put it in multiple locations.
No, we do not encourage the double dip. Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay. Okay.
That was me. I kind of just struggled, so
of course.
Sometimes I'll often just email you and ask you.
Of course. But are there any other situations that you're having that trouble with? Because I'm sure if you're having it, others are too.
No, I guess the one I had where I did try to enter in a project under conservation, it only let me to do one at a time.
Yes, that was an issue. That was a bug in the back end. It has since been fixed.
There was one I just put in under capacity. Again, I just put one in and I need to add another one, but I don't have the option to add a second one.
Under the capacity one, which one was it?
Under lunch and learn.
Okay, I'll double check on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I see that Jessica from Tunanago, you've just joined us. Could you put in your audio pin so you could be muted? I'll just send it to you now, and then we'll hear from you. But for now, we'll move to Bentel Kennedy. So Laura, let me just find you and unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so in terms of things that we've found, I guess, working well is actually going face-to-face to people, and I know I've had this discussion with you. Email is one thing. People here don't always tend to read them. So actually reaching out to them, I mean, at the time that you talk to them, they normally have their phone with them, and if they don't have a phone that's compatible, to download the app, I can say, okay, well, do you have a suggestion? So we've spoken to them via email, and then, like I said, in person kind of is working better. To fully launch, we're going to do a lunch and learn this Friday. Now, it being a Friday and it being summer as well, we're not, thinking that there's going to be a huge turnout, but just having people fully understand it in several departments will kind of get the conversation going around the office, what we're hoping for. And we've made it easy for people to give suggestions because we kind of have one contact for each department. So we're about 65 people here. So it's nice to kind of, section it off to have one contact for people to submit suggestions, because we find that if we just hand them the link, well, how do I do it? Where do I click? So we've kind of just said, if you've got a suggestion, email it out to this person. Not too sure on what we can improve on right now. To be honest, we're still in the beginning stages of getting people to download the app and getting people excited about it. So I guess it's just continuing to push forward with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Rockwell Automation now. So Vicki, just give me one moment. There you go. You're unmuted.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, so what has worked for us? We've kind of had a slow start, I'll say. We've rolled out SAP, so if anyone has SAP, it's a very large program that's kind of taking control over everybody. So I'm hoping in June to do another rollout of the People Power Challenge. So I did initially for the I went to all the startup meetings, so all shifts, all departments. I went out verbally and discussed the challenge. We also have already an internal suggestion program for each department. So And they're encouraged to submit quality and safety suggestions, so I've opened it up to environmental suggestions. I have to go out to the departments actually and see how many we have for the last 2 months, so I'm hoping to do that by the end of the month. And I don't think the app download has been a success, so we just need to come up with some new ways, I think, to approach everybody.
Sure. We're going to talk a little bit about how to download or how to encourage downloads in the app later on. And we can also solicit the group during that time to see what has really worked well.
Mm-hmm. Like all of our events, like we've had an event each month, and our events have been successful. And I think the suggestions will start to roll in. It's just a matter of me. I think in June I got to do another push to get the information out there and to get some participation.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so thank you for that. I'm going to mute you now, and now we're going to go to the City of Mississauga. So Mary, I'm unmuting you. You're good to go. Hello? Okay, we'll come back to the City of Mississauga. So we'll move now to Velcro. So just give me 1 minute to find you, Kelvin. Okay, there you go. You're unmuted.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelvin. I'm the new co-op student here at Velcro. Basically, for us, one of the good things that have worked out, just like Sonia from International Centers, we tacked it onto one of our annual revision training, basically, and that has gotten a lot of our pledges and awareness of the program out. Other than that, one of the things I like to see is, for at least the Green Gauge app, some more like numbers more frequently, just to see the engagement, because right now I don't know how many people have downloaded it or how many people have seen all the posts and events, basically.
Sure, we can definitely get you a more detailed report. We're going to do mid-reports and end of the session reports. But for all of you, if at any point in time you're interested to see how many people have downloaded the app, or say you've sent out a particular message and you're really interested in knowing who interacted with that message, just drop me a quick line and we can get you that information right away. Certainly, we want to make sure that you're getting use out of the data mining that the app provides. So we'll certainly get that to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other challenges you're facing?
So far, not really. Thank you.
That's good news for me. That's great. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just getting Diana ready to go for the City of Mississauga. So we're just going to mute you, Kelvin. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Diana, just give us one moment. Okay, Diana, you're unmuted. Can we try this now?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. So yeah, sorry, I'll be speaking for Marion. I just started recently, and she'll be transitioning the program or the challenge over to me. So she's here today, but she's sort of just in the background. So I think one thing that's worked really well for us has been that we had a Green Leaders program established prior to joining the challenge, and that was just our efforts in engaging our staff. And so the Green Leaders really represent the staff at our Civic Center. We have a lot of people working over there, so it really gives us an ability to have a face-to-face with all of the staff there. And they represent all of the floors and the divisions, and so we have monthly meetings that allow us to pass on the relevant information to them. So we just had a really great meeting this past week and got them up to speed on the new app, and so it was it's a really great way to kind of connect with all the other staff that we're just not able to interact with.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are you having any challenges getting engagement?
Right now, because we just kind of set out the information for the People Power Challenge, so we haven't seen too many challenges just yet. We had all the Green Leaders upload the app, and that went pretty well. There's a couple of people that had some issues with like phones that couldn't download the app, but other than that, it was pretty good. I think just looking forward, we'll just have to do some thinking about how we're going to be rolling this out to the rest of the city if we intend to do so in terms of our internal staff, because we have such a diversity of people that work here, from office workers to recreation staff. Somebody already mentioned having occasional staff. So that's kind of where I think a challenge that we'll face eventually when we're thinking of how we'll roll this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and we can certainly touch base around that when you're ready to roll it out to the wider, wider too. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to mute you now, and we'll go to Cunanoggle. So Jessica, I'm going to unmute you. So there you go. Hello?
Hey, guys.
Hi.
I was actually trying to push it to Mark to give us an update.
Oh, sure. Okay. So, Mark, if you could enter your audio pin, I can unmute you. So if you can just give me your audio, or enter the audio pin that I've just sent. We'll give you a moment to do that. You're actually our last speaker, so let's see. Okay. What we'll do is we'll move on and give Mark a chance to enter his code, and then we'll come back to Cunanoggle just to make sure that you get an opportunity to share and get some knowledge around some of the challenges that you're facing. So for now, I'd like to move to how you can encourage employee participation. Engaging employees in getting great prizes is such a wonderful thing to do, but how you actually go about doing it can sometimes be a bit more challenging. So throughout this section, we're going to focus on getting suggestions, but these strategies can also be used to encourage staff to declare pledges for environmental behavior changes. And a reminder that if you have any questions at all, please just put them into the chat section of your control panel, and we'll make sure that we get to all of those questions at the end of the session. So first things first, if you want engagement on a particular sustainability issue, you need to educate your staff on that issue. So that includes making sure that your staff understands the importance of the topic, best practices in addressing it, and of course company-specific information relating to what you're actually focusing on. So this can be done in a number of ways. Some organizations choose to use visual boards. So these are obviously visual and obviously boards that are located in high traffic areas that educate your team on the environmental issue you would like to tackle. They include information on your baseline, your goal, and then provide ways for staff to provide input, and then also go back to the visual boards to highlight successes to inform your staff of where you're actually moving the needle to. We heard a lot about staff meetings being used as a tool to promote the People Power Challenge, and they're also a great tool to promote the environmental target area that you're looking to address. They're a great opportunity to introduce new environmental challenges and getting staff thinking about ways to address it. In addition, most people have a variety of communication tools that are available to them. A lot of people have intranet, everyone uses emails, and then of course there's posters. And you can use these as a way to get the word out about the environmental challenge your company is trying to address. And certainly it behooves you to be a little bit creative in where you're putting posters. Try to find areas that have a captive audience. I know that once I was in GE and used the facilities there and found out a lot of information about something that they were trying to promote just because they put it on the back of a bathroom stall, and that's a wonderful place to put it. And then, of course, there's also all of the People Power Challenge tools. So if you go to the People Power Challenge page and go to the Tools tab, there's a number of different tools in all of the different categories. And they're great ways they're great resources that you can send out to your staff to educate them on the environmental issue you're trying to address. Plus, each resource that you send out gets you 2 points, so that's a really great opportunity. So once you feel that your staff has the education that they need in order to move forward with the sustainability challenge that you're trying to generate, you really need to provide opportunities for feedback. And again, there's a number of ways of doing this. So I mentioned staff meetings as a way to educate. It's also a really great opportunity to get suggestions from employees. You've got a number of people in the room. You can use that opportunity to brainstorm, and then you can simply go to the online portal and enter the suggestions that you received during that staff meeting. Of course, there's the online suggestion box. So we do, to make your life easier, so you don't need to enter these suggestions yourself. You can send out the link, or like Bentall Kennedy did, and create a contact for each department for people to submit suggestions to. And then they can go online and put them in the online suggestion box. And you can, of course, also provide offline suggestion boxes. So, Sonia, this might be a way that you can get access to some of those staff members that aren't there very often, is providing those suggestion forms and pledges that you can download from the site and put those where those employees are when they are on site, so they can participate that way. There's online discussion boards. So like I mentioned before, a lot of companies have intranets, and they have opportunities for staff to provide feedback to employers. So that's a great way to get conversations going. And certainly there's also the chat function in the app. So while suggestions don't directly come through the app, you can employ that chat function and ask people to submit suggestions there. It's just another tool to get them going. And we mentioned this a little bit before, but assigning a suggestion champion, like Bentall Kennedy has done, that does allow staff to email, call in, or simply tell the champion their idea. So that's a great way to make sure that ideas from all areas of the company are getting tracked and put into the website. But really, most importantly, it's very useful to communicate back to the employee what has happened with the suggestion, and if feasible and possible, to implement the suggestion. This lets them know what's working and what's not, and then they stay engaged in the process, knowing that their input is valued. And this has the ancillary benefit of staff members who maybe weren't participating before, seeing somebody really get recognition and have their ideas being used, and that can stimulate them to get engaged in the process as well. So the third part, after you've educated, provided all of these feedback mechanisms, is to recognize the employees for what they're doing. It's very important that staff feel acknowledged for the work that they put in and for the efforts that they're giving. It also, again, keeps other staff members involved. A lot of times if colleagues see their staff their fellow colleagues getting recognized for something that they've done, they'll in turn get involved because they will want to receive that recognition as well. So I've just put a few ideas for how you can recognize your employees. There is tons of resources out there. I'll try to send out a few links to a couple of articles that talk about really great ways to recognize employees. But one way is through something like a team lunch. This has the benefit of recognizing a group of individuals for the efforts that they're doing. So for example, Bentall Kennedy could recognize the person that got the most suggestions, or the department that generated the most suggestions, with a team lunch. So then you're kind of putting a challenge on top of a challenge there, and it gets them excited and engaged, and you can reward the team that wins the most or gets the most suggestions or the most pledges or the most downloads, however you want to play it, with a team lunch. There's also a lot of research that indicates that simple recognition, a simple thank you or a good work, goes even further than a monetary gift card or a prize. So somehow finding a way to recognize them through your current channels, either online or at a staff meeting or something, just a simple thank you for your efforts goes a really, really long way. In addition, those prizes do have value. They don't have to be significant, really expensive prizes, just something small that says, we see what you do and we appreciate it. So putting, everybody who created a pledge into a draw or submitted a suggestion or downloaded the app into a draw for a small prize can be great ways to trigger employee engagement. So last, I just want to talk a little bit about the mobile app. I know some of you have had some challenges with getting people to download it. So we heard a lot of those best practices during the sharing, and I'll just reiterate some of them here. But certainly sending a company-wide email with download instructions is very useful. So especially if they have it right in their phone, they can just click the link to download the app, and that's very helpful. If they are downloading it onto a personal phone, they would need to forward that email on to their personal phone to click the link from there, or simply go to their app store. That's a great instruction. They just need to go to their app store. For those that don't have emails, instructional posters, I know that Greengage has provided anybody that's asked with instructional posters. If you don't yet have one, just let us know and we'll make sure you get it. And this just tells people exactly how to download the app. So putting them throughout the facility in those high traffic areas can be really helpful. And like Sonia mentioned from the International Center, when you have a town hall or a staff meeting, it's a great captive audience. And if they have their phones with them, you can, ask them to whip out their phones and download the app right then and there, and that can get them going on. And then another great tool is mobilizing your green team. So like the City of Mississauga and their green leaders, or your department heads or your department champions. You can really use those people to do those face-to-face meetings to talk to people about downloading the app and how to get forward or get traction with the app that way. So that's really all I have, and so I'm going to actually go back a step and go to Kuehne+Nagel because I saw that Mark has entered his PIN. So I'm just going to unmute you now, Mark, and if you can tell us the things that have gone well for you and then maybe something that you're having a bit of a challenge with, that would be great. So go ahead. Hello? Well, maybe Mark has stepped away from his phone, so I will just unmute him. Well, we'll hopefully have Kuehne+Nagel have a chance on the next webinar to share. So now I'm going to open the floor to all of you. I see that there has been one question that's come in. So under the tools resource, does each distribution, for example, the case study of a resource equal 1 point, or does each distribution result equal 1 point? So the way that it works is that you will get, it's actually 2 points per resource, and it is dependent on the resource. So if you send 5 resources out, you will get 10 points. It does not matter where you post them or how many people you post them to or anything like that. The resource points are for the number of resources distributed. Does that answer your question? You can just put a yes or no, or if you have further questions, I can expound further. We'll wait for that to come in. Does anybody else have any other questions at all? Everyone's making my job really easy today. But certainly, if anybody has, there we go. So Mark says that you address the topic at monthly board meetings. So that's really great. Mark, I'm just going to unmute you and have you maybe expound a little bit on how you're getting the word out. So you're unmuted. So besides the monthly board meeting, how do you get the word out to your employees? I think there's an issue with the technical. I think we're experiencing a technical issue here because, have you muted yourself? Mark, if you could maybe try unmuting yourself. Okay, we're going to chalk this one up to some technical difficulties, but if Mark, if you manage to get that going, we'll hear from you. Okay, is there any other questions at all? Yeah, so Mark's just mentioned that it's not working. That's okay. But so, Mark, if you want to put in the comment box if you have any challenges getting the communications out, we can talk about that. Okay. So if there's any other questions at all that we can address here today, please do just put them in the chat box or raise your hand, and I'll unmute you. Otherwise, I see that I heard that there were a number of problems with the app, so we're going to get that sorted. This is the very first year that we've tried the app, so there's a couple of bugs to be worked out, and it's certainly a lesson for us to see how it can be integrated. But I'll follow up with each of you individually to make sure that everything is working okay on that side. And we'll move forward with that. And yeah, if there's any other questions that you come up with or think about after the webinar, please feel free to just drop me a quick email, and I'll make sure to get back to you promptly. Okay, Jessica is going to maybe share a bit from us. Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi, this is Purnima. Actually, I have one question regarding suggestion box.
Sure.
That whenever we make a suggestion, after then there are, it is showing me on the leadership board that it is showing me 0 reviewed. What does it exactly mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Who is exactly reviewing those, or and how do we get any comments over there, or who is going to comment? Can you please tell me a little bit about it?
Of course. So you're right. You get there are a number of ways to get points from a suggestion. You get 1 point per suggestion submitted, and then you get another point if you communicate back to the employee what is happening with that suggestion. So the way that that's done is through that suggestion reviewed function. So when you log into the website as the People Power Challenge champion, so when you go to partnersinprojectgreen.com and log in, and then you'll on the left-hand column of the page, there's Manage Scorecard and See Suggestions and See Pledges. And when you click See Suggestions, you'll get a list of all of the suggestions that were submitted for your organization. When you click on the employee name that made the suggestion, their idea will come up. The suggestion form that they filled out online will come up. And you can see all of the information that they provided. And when you scroll down, there's an opportunity for you to click what happened with that suggestion. So whether it was implemented whether it will be implemented, or whether it cannot be implemented at this time. And then there's another place where you toggle on or off whether you communicated back to the employee what happened with the suggestion. So that's what generates your point. If you click yes, that you communicated back to the employee, you'll get an additional point for that. Now, how you communicate back to the employee is really up to you. So some people find a quick stop by their desk to just let them know, thank you for submitting the suggestion. This is what happened with it. Other people prefer an email. It's really up to you how you communicate back that suggestion. The idea here is just that if employees know that they're being heard and listened to, regardless of whether the suggestion gets implemented at all, they'll continue to participate. Does that help? Okay, you've muted your line again. So hopefully that answered your question. If you have any further questions, please just let me know, and I'll make sure that you get the information that you need. Okay, so if there's no further questions, like I said, feel free to contact me after the session. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. All of your organizations will get 5 points for participation in the webinar today, and it will be recorded. I will send the link out to the recording to all of you. Other than that, have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you all in the next webinar. Bye now.